In a time where marriages seem to be on the brink of extinction, we ask the questions: what are we missing to ensure a long lasting relationship?
Are there warning signs? Could it have been worked out? People come and go, but we're here to stay. So let's talk about it. It's time to settle down.
Everybody gather round.
Alan and Erika show. We gon' talk about it.
So let's talk about it.
Alan and Erika show. Conversations matter, mixed with love and laughter. Alan and Erika show. We gon' talk about it.
So let's talk about it.
Alan and Erika. Alan and Erika. Alan and Erika. The show.
Babe.
Yeah.
Babe. It's an open, not a song.
What? That's what I do.
Hey, and welcome to the Alan and Erika show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Erika.
And this is the show.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to be talking about the importance of knowing your partner.
That's right. We started with date nights, makes great nights. We went out on a date. We showed you on our first show, and we talked about the importance of dating when heading towards a relationship. So now that you've gone on some dates, you're dating, how important it is to truly know your partner. So, babe, when dating, what are some of the questions that people should ask on a date? You talked about before how it's not good to go with the movie or just the movie, but you should go to dinners that you can sit across from the person, have some conversation and exchange. What are some of the questions that you ask to really get to know a person?
Well, first thing you want to ask him is, what are we?
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat,
Right.
What are we? I mean, because I know that, we just dating and getting to know each other, but, it's not exclusivity right now, but at this point, you are getting to know them, but it's like, I want to know, like, what are we right now? Like,
How early in a relationship do you ask that question? Because a lot of people have this question. How early do you ask?
Man, that's a good one. I would say like around 3 months.
Okay, 3 months. I think it depends on the situation, right? Because we didn't have a traditional relationship, so we had to go with the flow. We didn't do 3 months or 6 months. We did 2 years.
Yeah.
But when we became exclusive, we did 2 years.
Yeah, I always thought that was important to get to know somebody.
Yes.
Know what you're getting into.
And you know what was fun? He always says this: if I'd have known that I was going to marry you, I don't know if I'd have told you all of that. But that's the cool thing about taking your time getting to know somebody. Right?
Yeah, that was always a funny thing. Like, I told her everything. Like, I've never told anybody everything. But she got the goods of everything.
That's right, ladies. Do not deny the friend card, okay? And don't push for exclusivity before the time. Yeah. Take your time. I know all the details. We look at that inbox together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's why I still got a bunch of friends on my Facebook friends list.
I don't know who you are.
My old friends. She knows everything.
But that's the fun thing. When you're out on those dates or you're getting to know people, I think the best thing to do is to ask those open-ended questions.
Like?
No, yes or no. Tell me, you don't want to sound like a therapist. You don't want to go straight in like, tell me about your childhood. But that is kind of what I used to do. I would say things like that. Like, so what was it like growing up for you? When you ask people open-ended questions like that, pay attention to what they say. And then depending on their answers, draw a question from that. A lot of people in this world do not listen. They don't. They just look for opportunities to speak. So the funny thing is when we were friends, you would say things like, I never told anybody else this.
Yeah.
So ask those questions that no one else would ask, right?
Yeah.
And how do you build trust? Like, how did you feel comfortable enough to even answer those questions when I was asking you them?
I don't know. To this day, I still don't know. Like, why did I open up to her so much? It was like a spell was over me. And like, I just was like, yeah, because and then this would happen to me, and then this happened to me, and then I got to a point where I was like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And then I started crying. I've really never crowed in front of someone that much.
Yeah.
Ever
It's
in
that
my life.
opening ear though. Really, it really is about the questions asked. I mean, I think people, especially adults, if you've been adulting for a while, which Alan had, when I met him, we were in the throes of adulting.
Yeah.
So when you're adulting like that, I think people don't even take the time to really say, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Like people don't even say like, how was your day? Or if they do, they want to hurry up so they can tell you about their day. But it was genuine interest, like, hey, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
And just that moment of like, how am I feeling? I'm feeling good. How about you? Or he has a joke with my hands, and we would laugh, and I would go, okay, great, but how are you feeling? You know, and then he go,
I feel with my hands like I always did.
right, same. And then for everybody else, that's a good enough answer. You keep it moving. But no, we got to get like a little below the surface, right? Below the surface, and ask more questions. Like, no, really, how are you feeling? I feel okay. And then people start to talk about their frustrations in their daily lives, and then when you follow up about things like that, they end up opening up and telling more things.
And then the past comes out.
The past is
Start
so
talking
important.
about your childhood and then things that hurt you, and then once you start revealing those things that really resonate in your psyche, and you really start to talk about those things and getting your partner to get to know you from that person to then person to now person, it's real therapeutic, because you actually have somebody to talk to and actually have somebody that's going to tell you and hold you accountable when a lot of things say, hey, oh, you was wrong on that situation, you was wrong with that, you were right about that, I don't know about that, so it's that comes a long way, and that's really getting to know the person, because my wife's favorite word is, that's a trigger for me. That's a trigger.
Yes.
So I know that if I say something, I think about, say, wait a minute, is that a trigger for? Should I test the trigger? It might be a hair trigger. Let me test the trigger. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it and see what happens.
That's right. And triggers can't be excuses. So when I say that's a trigger for me, it's really me stating my own insecurity. It's saying, hey, wait a minute, in this moment, it takes a moment for me to process what you're saying, which is 100% truth. But because I may have a challenge with this, it's going to take me a moment to swallow that. So please hold, okay? And that's the thing about being in relationships. Do you know yourself? Because we could talk about getting to know the other person, but do you really know you? Like by the time we got together, I was 33 years old. I'd already had a marriage up under the belt. Okay, as quick as it happened, that's as quickly as it was over. And that really speaks to, we didn't know each other. We didn't know each other. You cannot move quickly and say that I'm going to commit my life to you. Right. You got to know yourself. You got to know your flaws and all, especially as an individual in a relationship, because when we're walking in our own insecurities, we tend to put it off on the other person. Yeah. Right? We can say, what's the way you said it? Don't put that on me. You don't do well with receiving correction. Know that about yourself, and do not put that on me. However, you do have to know yourself that if somebody says, I don't like the way you said that, you've heard that a time or two, so you know that's your issue, at which you should be able to say, you know what, let me go ahead and check that. Let me rinse that with a little Listerine and get that together. Yeah. You have to know that and be comfortable enough to know your flaws and stand in them so that you won't feel embarrassed. Because I feel like most relationships start, or most arguments, in relationships start because of embarrassment. Like, I'm ashamed that you call me out on something that I'm not comfortable with, so now we got to fight about it. Yeah. But if I already know my flaws and you call me out on it, then why are we arguing? You're right, let me work on that. Just give me a minute, you're right. And we do that a lot. Yeah. Like, I feel like Alan's really good at saying, you right now, but I'm mad, okay? Yeah. So give me a minute. And I can't do anything but respect that. Yeah, because a lot of times when she's right and I'm like, going from 0 to 100, because I know she's right and I don't want to be wrong. You know what I mean? And I think that's how it is in most relationships, because when you dealing with somebody and they hold you accountable and stuff, people don't like being held accountable, because when they're being held accountable, they have to count those. They have to count them. And it's like, that's 1, shit, that's 2, that's 3. And some things you just want to leave in the past, man, but you can, getting to know that person, just bring all that stuff to the table so you won't be blindsided with a lot of issues and things that can actually, destroy a relationship, man. A lot of people that I've seen, I'm not talking about anybody, but it's just things that I've seen.
I seen people get married and then a year later they broke up because they say, "Oh, he or she can't match my drive," and it's like, did you at least show him the gear shifters before he matched your drive? Did you give him the manual on how to drive? You like, one little thing goes wrong and they like, well, I don't need you no more. I don't need you. And they say, no, you on looking for the next perfect person, which you're never going to find. Never going to find a perfect person. You just have to find somebody that's equal of your value, your time, and your worth, just to make sure things fit. Because nobody's perfect.
And I think you also end up with your mirror. The funny thing is, you end up with your mirror. They say opposites attract, which is true. But you also that's true. But you also marry your mirror. We have a lot in common. We both like to be in control. We both natural born leaders. We both are go-getters. We both are extremely hard on ourselves. So we have to be careful with that because we'll overwork the other. And we'll put high expectations on the other person because we put so much on ourselves. So you want to marry or be with somebody who is aware of that. So I can step in and say, hey, you being too hard on yourself, and you being too hard on me. I don't want to work out 7 days a week. You have to know yourself though, and you have to also give yourself permission not to compete with your spouse or your partner. I think that happens low key too. Like, because both of us have a really high work drive, sometimes he'll go and go and go, and I think, I'm supposed to be doing something. My work drive is over here. Like, you have to know your own lane and be comfortable with your own lane. And I like what you said about you got to bring it all to the table. Because another misconception is this whole idea about being perfect or being whole. You know, you have people like, I'm on my healing journey. I got to be whole. And I'm not knocking that at all. But I do think that it is absolutely impossible to be whole by yourself. You can't. It takes human interaction to become whole. How can you be whole if you don't know your flaws? And how will your flaws be exposed if you're not interacting with other humans? If you don't know how you make people feel or how you feel because of another person in your space, how will you ever become whole? I don't understand that idea. I know that being in this relationship has exposed even those things that I didn't know about myself. You know, the things that I did work on in my singleness, the things that I was like on my healing journey. But when I got in this relationship, voila, it was exposed. Like, oh my God, I do that? Okay, I might want to check on that, you know? And you talked about family traits, right? About bringing your past. Talk about how your past, or the importance of knowing a person's family background, the importance of that in a relationship.
I just was about to get into that because I was going to say, you know, people come with flaws also, and the flaws also come from past relationships. Flaws come from the way you grew up, you know, certain things. Because it's like, we got this little thing, like she'll tell me something about her la la land of where she grew up, and then I just sit there like she had stuff like food when she was growing up, and they was eating, and I'll be sitting there like, and my son would be like, oh, and I'll say, and on the other side of the tracks, we had welfare cheese. And she's like, wow, like we got a lot of differences, and they're funny, you know, but it makes us who we are. That way I get to know her, she gets to know me. And that's, you know, just to bring that up, it's funny.
You have
but
to know those things.
Yeah, but you know, the flaws and all, you have to take the good with the bad. Like I said, ain't nobody perfect, man. You have to take, it's like, and there's certain things that you have to work on yourself. Because if she tells you or he tells you, hey, you need to work on that, don't take that as a beat down. He's just trying to, hey, I see you as something that's going to help build us up together as one. I need for you to fix that. It's not nothing wrong with you, but that thing right there needs to be fixed. And you have to just man up or woman up and say, you know what? For the greater good of us, I have to do it, because at the end of the day, if you can't do it, you're going to try to find somebody that's going to try to match your drive, and he don't want to drive. And then that person is going to try to match your drive, and you're going to be trying to look for a passenger in the car forever, and you're never going to find that. Never. So just take the good with the bad, find out what the flaws are, work on the flaws together. You know, because actually at the end of the day, they all make you a better person.
That's
true. They make you a better person.
You said something big. If you can learn to separate yourself from your actions, that's the biggest thing. Like he said, if somebody tells you, I don't like when you did X, Y, and Z, stop taking that to your personhood. I always say this to Alan, especially in the beginning. You are still a dope husband, I still think you are the bomb and I love you with everything in me. However, I did not like, you know what I mean? Like, I want him to know that I'm not attacking your personhood. It's the actions that you did that made me feel a way. Yeah. And it's all about delivery. I don't need to kill him when I'm talking to him about what he said to me. No. And I also don't need to respond if he has a visceral reaction to me telling him about my action. I stand very grounded in my truth. I know what I am saying, and it is what it is. I don't have to come from like 0 to 100. I don't. I beg not to go to 100 because the thing about me is when I get to 100,
she turns shy.
Yeah, and I don't really know how to turn off the south side like that. So I beg people, I beseech people, the old brethren, do not allow me to get to 100. Please let me stay at 2. Thank you. But another thing that you said that was key about past relationships. Here is the kicker. About knowing one another, right? And about digging in those 2 years of friendships and experiences and all the things that we talked about and made each other cry. I ran into the problem that his ex had with him. He ran into the problem that my ex had with me. You cannot escape those things. Nope. It really just makes you decide, like he and I knew, wait a minute, he said to me, you saying things that she said. Yeah. You acting the way he did. Then that means that's me. Yeah. That's me. So those are mirror moments. Like those, you talked about those quick breakups, the people that get married and then they get divorced after a year. Now, no shade to anybody, but sometimes the people that you divorce, you're going to run into them again because you still you, boo. Yeah, you still carrying that baggage from that relationship. Yes, and so it's up to you. Like when I saw him doing and acting and doing some of the same things that my exes were saying, I was like, ooh, hold up, wait a minute. That's me then. I gotta fix that. Yeah. And him too, when he said like, you sound like, okay, well then that would be something that you need to look at, sir. Yeah. But the thing is, what I appreciate about my partner more than anything is that we are both dedicated to this relationship. We are dedicated to making this work. And I do think and know and believe that it was those 2 years of really getting to know each other because I know the root of who he is. Mm-hmm. I know the root of who he is. And so no matter how angry I get or how hurt I may feel, I know that Alan would never deliberately do anything to hurt me. Yeah. And that's the key that you really have to hold on to really survive your marriage and relationships. Do not allow negative thoughts to come in and destroy what you spent time building. Nope. You have to catch those negative thoughts. We were talking about that, like, you know, you want to talk about how like things got frustrated in the morning. We were telling ourselves things that you had to reverse. Yeah. It got to a point, we were at a frustrated point with one another at one time. And I would wake up every morning and I'll say, wonder what she gonna complain about today. Mm-hmm. You know, and that started to turn to a norm for me. And it's like when you speak it, it comes to fruition. You know what I'm saying? You put it into the universe say, okay, well, negative, and just make her negative all day. And the thing is, she's not negative. You already perceived her to be negative, so that's what you're going to automatically see. Mm-hmm. So you putting that out there in the universe, it happens. So if I wake up every morning and say, oh man, I wonder how my wife going to love me today, then that's what I'm going to receive. And since I've been saying that, through the traumas that we went through, mm-hmm. It's been consistent. Mm-hmm. You know, how she's going to love me today. She waits very much. She's always woke up and gave me a kiss in the morning anyway. Mm-hmm. And she always asks me, how did I sleep? And I tell her like this. Every time. How'd you sleep like this? But then I tell her, you know, I had dreams, you know. Yeah. You know, I had dreams of this and this and that, you know. And I never really told people about my dreams. I just wake up, it's a norm. So, you know, those are the things that we do to get to stay in touch with one another, stay in the know with one another, and figure out what's her needs, wants, expectations of me. And I have to meet those things. And like I said, you have to be accountable. You have to count. Mm-hmm. There's one. You have to keep counting, being accountable. So those are the things that I like what you talk about, routines. We do that. Every morning we say, hey, how are you? How did you sleep? And like you said, it gives him a space to talk about what he dreamt about, or just maybe some anxieties that he was going through when he was asleep. Same thing with me. I also found that I was frustrated if I didn't have that moment to unpack that with him in the morning. Yeah. So I think it's important to have routines in a relationship. I just saw something recently on Facebook of a woman who posted a screenshot of a chat, and she said that she wasn't intellectually stimulated by this guy who was trying to talk to her, because all he did was in the morning say good morning and how was your day. And I was saying that's a missed opportunity, because him asking how was your day was a chance for you to open up. Now, did you miss the mark of being intellectually stimulated? Did you actually tell him how your day was, or did you keep it shallow and say it's cool? No, how was your day? If you give me the fodder, if you give me the information, if you give me the details about how your day was, then I can follow up and say, whatever happened with that thing with Sheila? I know Alan does that to me all the time. If I come home from work and I say, this is what happened, he's going to ask me the next day, so whatever happened with such and such, how did that go? That's a connection that makes me feel like he's involved, he's interested.
Yeah, because if you don't, she'll go to work and Marlon will ask her.
And we don't do work husbands or work wives over here. I don't even think it's fun, okay? Don't come in this house telling me about how you have no daily routine with nobody else but me. Thank you.
Let that nigga just start asking questions.
No. Ain't no intellectual stimulation outside of here, okay? I don't believe in it. I'm sorry. Now, I do know you can have coworkers and you can have friends and you can do all those things, but I don't think it's a good idea when you find yourself talking to somebody else about intimate, emotional details more than you are your partner. That's a red flag. I don't even play like that. I don't play games like that.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just basically what it is, man. Get to know your partner.
Yes.
Whether if it's him, whether if it's a her, whether if it's a them, whether it's an it, whatever it is, whatever these pronouns are nowadays. Get to know the person.
Yes.
Okay?
And take your time. Don't go by anybody's timeline. Don't be pressured by your age. Don't look at your peers. Do what is right for you.
In the heart.
Yes, do what is right for you. Because, baby, if we had listened to what people said to us, about us, we would not be sitting here today. So, do you, boo?
Yeah.
And until next time.
Yeah.
This is the Alan and Erika Show.
Yeah.
I'm your girl, Erika.
And I'm Alan. And this is the show. And I always tell her, tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. I know I'm wrong here. Tell me if it ain't good enough for you, babe. Tell me.
You gotta sing it, babe!
It's